It's the beginning of another week on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brand as always. I have the ladies. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing? How was your weekend?
Yes.
Let me start with Tokwe.
So I went out with my Oga on Friday. I've not done it in a long time. That kind of groove. It was a serious groove. I was partying. I'm sure people that saw me dancing that day would have felt like, what's wrong with this woman? Like, you're married woman, you shouldn't be doing like this. But I looked at it that I don't know the next time I'm going to have this opportunity. So it was fun. I enjoyed myself. And as usual, every time I hang out with my husband, somebody walk up to me and be like, I don't know, you guys, I like the way you guys are together. And I think that most people tend to showcase tough times in marriages, that single people are worried that marriages are in crisis in Nigeria. Marriages will have ups and downs, and that's a norm. But when we only focus on sharing our sub-stories and sad stories, we are not letting people see that you also have fun and you're happy together. Then we went for the housewarming yesterday, which was pretty interesting.
Very nice.
Very beautiful
house.
environment.
Very lovely neighborhood.
In this Lagos.
Thank God. That great things are happening amongst us. Our prayer is that
God.
you know Akari.
Yeah, amen.
Amen. How are you doing, Nima?
Very well. Me, I just have shout-outs today.
As expected.
As expected. So it's Olaide Johnson's birthday. She's a very huge fan of your view and never leaves my phone. She's always calling after every show and topic. Happy birthday, ma. Also, it's the birthday of Edilawani. Sir Edilawani has been helpful to me from a distance. So I know that I must do this shout-out. Anytime I need help and I send help, I get it. Thank you, sir, for always being there. And I should be able to greet you in Akoko Edo, but Mosa in our own language. Happy birthday, many more fruitful years as you grow older. And may you continue to touch many more lives like you always do. Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Me, I'm doing fine. My weekend was great. We went to
tree planting.
Yes, we planted a tree. My
Flower
farm,
planting.
Tree planting with my children. Thank you, at Lufasi Park. I'd never been there. Really nice place.
What did you call the place?
Lufasi Park. It's along the Lekki Express Road.
Conservation.
We had like a forest tour. We went through the
As
forest.
in the
We learned
pictures?
about different kinds of trees. A particular kind of tree is the Eki tree, which is water resistant and fire resistant. That you can,
Oh.
I mean, we saw special, almost extinct birds there. Really amazing. It's nice to
At
spend
the National
time with
Conservation
me.
Center or
No,
Lufasi
Park.
Different place.
belongs to
Yes.
Majeko Dume himself.
Wow, that's always take kids.
I'm
to.
telling
Yeah,
you,
so
there was
horse riding, there were dogs.
When I saw the horses, I'm like, someone is going to like...
Where did you post pictures? I didn't see pictures.
Oh, I posted it on my-
Instagram?
Yeah.
Like 10 pictures.
She made
And then in her
No,
story,
it's a-
like
it's
plenty
like a
videos.
million pictures and videos. My kids had fun. When we started on the trail, my daughter was like, Mommy, what's this forest stuff? What does it even mean? Because me, I'm already tired. But by the time we were done, they were so excited.
I would like to
Then,
them.
in appreciation, my son gave me this.
Aww.
He came to the house. He went out with his uncle. His uncle said he went to the place, picked it up, and said, Mommy, I bought this for you. He said, Mommy, I have a surprise for you. He had it behind his back. And then he said, I want to tell you I love you.
I'm telling you. I've done a good job.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I want to say thank you to my wonderful, wonderful son for appreciating me.
that's nice.
I think they rubbed off on
we need
Gufran.
to teach him that plastic is not healthy. So next time we'll be real plastic.
Well, see, they rubbed off on my daughter because she now writes poem every week for her best mom and everything.
Oh.
I just put them into a folder now.
Many more that's a share. That's your best one.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mariah, do we have time for yours?
No, I mean, I'm happy to see your kids doing great stuff.
I'm about to come and do a
fine.
video exposing on Mariah's children. They were giving me the lowdown. Gabriel can now stand. When he holds something, he's standing. He now eats fish. He eats... I was just looking at them like they were just rolling.
It's easy food. I mean, we're trying to get him. And what I do is that I put the rice, the fish, all the vegetables, we blend it, and we don't give it to him. So it's
puree.
yeah. And take the chicken stick now, the chicken bone.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's how
yes.
to start.
Yeah,
But let him know Pepe. Helps when they start
very
eating.
good things also. It's still a way done, Amara. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
That
Weekend was
explains,
fun. I enjoyed the mentoring session. It was really nice, very organized, very straight to the point. The kids, and initially when I got there, I was talking like at this point, you know, my background. When I started asking them about their stories, they grew up in neighborhoods where people were shooting people, people were molesting people. I realized I had to come down from that. You know, I just understand.
You know, they are Jebota children.
These are people that are having issues. And, they, you know,
Ajay.
and I think I'm going to keep in touch with a few of them because I think I saw some energy, some passion people that really want to succeed. So I'm excited about this. I will definitely continue to be a mentor to some of these kids. They actually are very intelligent and smart. It's Monday. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll look at the top stories in the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with The Nation. 150 million euro probe. Detectives comb Obasanjo's library. Picture of our President Buhari, Sanwo-Olu, Zulum, Abdulrazak off to Japan. SEC regularizes 3.4 billion fictitious shares. Southwest security outfit set to begin. Ministerial snub is shock, says Shitu. And Keyamo, FBI suspect, my friend. Who has the Obasanjo library story?
So I do. I have it very briefly. So part of the probe of the Atiku's son-in-law and his associates that the EFCC picked up prior to elections, one of the confessions was that one of them said they dropped $140,000, which is about 50 million naira, to one of the library officials at the library, which made them go there to see if they could find anything. They come through, they didn't arrest anybody, and they left. They said they have legitimate, rights to investigate. Probably they have a search warrant.
Okay, another story. Let's talk about Keyamo for a second, because I know that they wanted to show that he knew an accused person. So the scammer, someone on the list of I think the 80 that the FBI is captured. So he wanted to say that, yes, he did not deny that friend. He said they grew up together in Delta State, and that he knows, he saw the allegation, the allegation sheet, and the issue was that it wasn't as if it was fraudulent, but he helped to transfer money illegally. So that's what he's hoping, that they are able to get off the hook at some point.
I like the fact that he did not deny his friend. Because Nigerians are quick to say, I don't know him before. He said they grew up together. They were born in the same neighborhood. The picture that they have was at one of their friends' father's burial, who passed, and that they grew up the families are still very close friends till date.
It's a very good
I
family.
like that one.
I'll take the story of the Southwest. So the Southwest governor, the 6 of them, got in principle an agreement from the Office of the National Security Advisor to put together a joint task force. So this is a security team contributed from the 6 southwestern governors are putting together security forces with ammunition to help combat banditry and kidnapping within their community. And I think it is laudable, because they've been saying a lot about it, but now the Nation said they got a scoop that it's almost at the finishing stage where they would inaugurate this. It will be called the Western Nigeria Security Network.
Okay.
To protect
Moving on now to the Punch. $9.6 billion. British firm listing Nigeria's assets for seizure. Man molests impregnates Ekiti 16-year-old people. CBN sets limits for banks on non-performing loans. Mom discouraged me from going into politics. Is misleading. Power generation falls below 3,000 megawatts on disco's demands. Taraba killings, army to court-martial soldiers in Jos. Nigeria, U.S. working on to curb online fraud, says presidency. JAM plans mobile courts for exam fraudsters. Okay, the human interest story.
Okay, so this man was caught in Ekiti, was accused, actually, of having molested and impregnated a girl, which he denied. He took his plea and he denied it, and because I awarded him bail, but the bail sum was about 20,000 naira and 2 shorties. So I just feel that the court would have looked into it and not see a substantial case.
So this heading is misleading. It says, Asiwaju accuses federal government
of trying to go tomato business.
Yes, so I took it because it's important that sometimes we read past, what the headline. So this Asiwaju is the Balogun of Imeko local government in Ogun State. And his local government is a border town. And so the problem is his farmers, tomato farmers especially, are moving tomatoes are stopped from moving their tomatoes into the Ogun State markets, because it's right at the border. We have a policy where we're trying to reduce the influx of imported food products. And so it's affecting them, and he's saying these are Nigerians, that, you know, we should look at this policy carefully so that farmers are not losing out on. This
9.6 billion is our hot topic, so we'll reserve our comments on that. Taraba killings, army to court-martial soldiers in Jos. What's that story?
I read the story. The Nigerian army are continuing investigation into Wadume's killing. They've arrested all the soldiers related, and the panel that they put together, they are awaiting that report. Also, they've arrested the captain, Balarebe Tijani, who is also in detention and is also confessing. They are now saying, because the headline, I felt a court-martial will be in place, that they might court-martial soon. So they don't, not necessarily admitting to having...
we want swift justice carried out, like the way we saw with the police, where they dismissed immediately. It's stalling. They are stalling this process.
Let's move on to Daily Sun. Insecurity knocks kudos for Buhari. IPOB members flood Japan. So you know that's where our president is right now. FIRS plot to remove Fowler thickens. U.S. fraud involving Nigerians FG to issue executive order. And how Ekweremadu Kalu facilitated Kano's release from jail, says ex-IPOB member. Let's start with which one do you want?
Okay, good.
Which one?
Fowler.
Fowler, go ahead.
Yeah, so his term is almost coming to an end, but I think he's trying to run for... He'll be looking to run for a second term, but there are lots of accusations that have been leveled against him right now. Some people are saying they're just, you know, political enemies, but some of the accusations that that are leveled against him, they are calling it sedimented corruption, which is contracts that are inflated. They're saying that he has infested the place with parasitic consultants. So staff themselves are left redundant. They're unable to do anything. They said extravagant weekly spendings at concerts and parties in the different cities in Nigeria. I mean, so many things. Sometimes, you know, we hear this and think, oh, it's just politics. But I think it's good to be able to, you know, look into it and see if they're really...
I know recently Abba Kyari had accused him, queried him actually that he needed to give them the reason, the difference between what was budgeted and what was realized. So, according to the report, it's actually a plot to stop him from being reappointed. But Buhari might overlook it and still reappoint him, but you never know. But they're just putting up all the cases so that the president's hands will be tied, such that he will be able to reappoint him. Moving on to IPOB.
Okay,
Japan, what was that story?
IPOB members, you know, in obedience to their leader, have started going to Japan. They were supposed to wait for the president on his arrival yesterday, Sunday. And the objective is, of course, to arrest him or force the Japanese government to arrest him for crimes against humanity, which Kanu is claiming he committed in Nigeria. Sometimes these things are laughable, just as Tokwe is laughing.
I'm telling you.
Because I'm sure the Japanese government...
They don't know the crime, the result, like, those places, they're not slow in dispensing justice. If you are found to do anything against their laws, if it is beheaded, they will behead you. If it is to imprison you for life.
Their vested interest.
In fact, they invited the president. He's attending an event there at the invitation of the emperor.
Moving on now to the Vanguard. OBJ, Oshoyinka, others wade into Yoruba leadership tussle. Army strategy against Boko Haram faulty, says Borno governor. Godfathers not involved in my election, says Oyo governor. Ngige mediates NASU and SSANU strike. State of the nation better to part in peace than through war, says Igbo leaders. And Nigeria needs divine intervention, says MFM's Olukoya.
Like, I have all the stories in Vanguard. Right. But let me start with the major issue. MFM just was advising, they did their 30th year anniversary, and it was saying that they faced crisis in starting their process, but prayer, because they focused too much on holiness and in fervent prayers and fiery prayers, and so, but they overcame because they continued praying, and saying that Nigeria is positioned as a trigger point of Africa, and God has a reason for that. He believes in one Nigeria, and he feels that we should continue fighting and praying, more importantly, to remain united, that Nigeria would change Africa. But what I feel concerned about is Ngige saying that he was mediating between the non-academic staff, that they are on strike, and the senior secretary, I think, the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities, SANU. So NASU and SANU have both went on strike based on the funds that was disbursed to the universities. 80% of those funds went to the lecturers, and only 20% went to non-academic staff. And I think it is a valid grievance for them to have, that you can't be sharing in a way that makes it look like we are not important to the academic union. And so those are the things that they brought up. And Ngige said he's going to mediate. However, the members of the staff have said they haven't heard anything from Igige.
Okay.
So we're expecting they should mediate and find peace.
Let's move very quickly now to, I think, Daily Trust. Army goes after traitors as Boko Haram strikes again. Muslim community condemns demolition of Port Harcourt Mosque. I was shocked when my name was not included, says Minister Shitu. And AFC approves $230 million loan for 9 Mobile. Okay, any story there, the Muslim community?
The Muslim community, I have that story. So the leaders of the Muslim community have condemned the demolition of the Rainbow Town Central Mosque in Trans-Amadi in Port Harcourt. They are claiming that they bought this land legitimately and they got an approval by government to build in 2009 and they started building in 2010. There was a prior demolition by former Governor Amechi in 2010, which they went to court for. In fact, the person who sold the land took the government to court on their behalf, and they got judgment against the government, only for the present governor to come and demolish again. And there are online news carried around saying that that state is not another religion, it's a Christian state, so they will not allow any such major mosque be built in Port Harcourt. I think that the governor should react quickly to this, and if it is truly any kind of what's it called, propaganda, he should stem it.
We can't take any more story, but let me just read very quickly at The Guardian. Outrage as government makes $60 billion naira from new equity tax regime. And finally, this day, smarten from $9.9 billion P&ID liability. FG risk fresh $3.5 billion judgment debts. When we go on, we're going to go on a break. Unfortunately, we have to run off right now. When we come back, we'll discuss this 9.6 billion naira judgment against our country in the UK. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So recently, the United Kingdom Court has granted Process and Industrial Development Limited, P&ID, the go-ahead to seize Nigeria's assets worth $9.6 billion. However, Nigeria is set to appeal this judgment. Joining us on the show is a renowned chartered accountant, Mr. Akin Akinbode. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Cool, sir.
Now, for those who have no idea what this is about, because we are all just moving on as if nothing happened, because a few people have, not so many people are talking about this issue, and I'm really surprised why not. It's been on the papers for a few days. Let's first of all establish what happened. So, I'd like you, sir, to tell Nigerians exactly what happened in this judgment.
Actually, for me, I would say it's a very interesting but unusual story. And the story, as you know, it's been for over 9 years now, starting from 2010 to be precise. Now, under the former, the late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua administration, now the federal government signed a contractual agreement with P&ID now of the UK, and then that was in January 2010 to be precise. Now, what was the mission of this contract? It was for P&ID to be able to refine gas for the production of, for generation of electricity for Nigerians. Now, the Nigerian government also has their own part of the, or their obligation, which is a part of the contract, and then P&ID also has their own part. On the part of the federal government, we are meant, the government is meant to construct the gas pipeline from the source to the factory that P&ID was meant to construct. Now, in addition to that, they were also meant to provide the gas, the natural gas that could be used for that purpose. That we're flaring. Which was actually it was meant to be a very good project, to be precise. Now, between January 2015 and March 2013, different things happened which are not too clear to most Nigerians. However, we need to take note of the fact that in the month of May 2010, which was when the project, the contract was signed. Now, we had a change in regime. That was when the administration of Goodluck Jonathan came on board. So there was a change in regime. Now, what actually happened again was not clear, but however, the P&ID actually alleged that the Nigerian government declined. They reneged in fulfilling their own part of the obligation. Now, what actually happened was that, now at that point in time, P&ID moved ahead to begin to engage the Cross River State government in respect of land allocation for the construction of the project. Now, at that point, Nigerian government apparently declined in moving forward with their own part of the contract. Now, so because of this, P&ID felt they were being frustrated in constructing the project, so they didn't go ahead with the construction. Now, in 2013, that time, the Jonathan administration has spent about 2 years or 3 years or thereabouts. Now, in 2013, P&ID seek an arbitration, and they got what they call it, an award against Nigeria to the tune of 6.6 billion naira. Now, between 2013 and 2015, what actually happened were not also clear again. However, there appears to be a renegotiation between the federal government and P&ID to the tune of $850 million. Now, which means they renegotiate that instead of paying the penalty of 6.6 billion, we could pay 850 million naira and close the deal. They reduce it. So again, after that, it wasn't.
Sorry, what year was that now? That negotiation?
Exactly. That's why I said that is not clear. Before 2015, it was in between that happened, but it's not clear to most people. However, in 2015, this is what was apparently handed over to the current regime. Now, what happened again between 2015 and 2019 is what is not clear. However,
there are many things that are not clear.
However, the P&ID now eventually went back to court, and then they now got $9 billion against Nigeria. Now, we need to have an understanding of how they arrived at this figure. Now, between 2013 and 2019, that's been 6 years. Now, so they compounded that at an interest rate of about 7% to arrive at the current amount of $9 billion.
It was $6.6 billion.
$6.6 billion. So they compounded that at 7% interest rate over the years, over 6 years period, now to arrive at the current $9 billion against Nigeria.
Okay, thank you for establishing, because it was important that those who have no idea what's going on have an idea. Now, there's so many angles to this. Issues of the part you say that we don't know what happened. A lot of Nigerians speculate that our government went to sleep, or our government totally had no idea how to handle this issue of arbitration, or had maybe incompetent lawyers or something, representation concerning. The different people can come with different angles, but there are some parts of how did we get to this point. Now, I know you're not a lawyer, and I'm not going to talk about the legal language. How do you get somebody to represent us, have a document representing a country that is not properly vetted by the Attorney General of Arbitration in itself is something to worry about. But let's talk about the economic impact, which I believe is, they are going to seize 9.6 billion of our own assets. First of all, we don't have money. How do we even have assets worth that amount, first of all, in the UK?
You see, now, you were talking about our representation. Now, before we even come to the economic part, it's also important to actually talk about the representation on board. I agree that I'm not a lawyer. However, we are talking about signing a contract on behalf of an entire nation. Now, when you are signing a contract, even as individuals, when you are signing a contract, there are certain steps you are supposed to take. Now, as corporate organizations, when you are signing a contract, there are certain steps you are supposed to take, and your representation should be full. Now, in this case, do we actually have good representative in respect of signing this contract? We are not too sure of that. Now, when you are signing this kind of contract, was due diligence carried out? We are not too sure of that. So these are things that Nigerians need to be aware of. For instance, on the board of the people, in the team of people that actually represented Nigeria. Now, who were members of this team? Did we have petroleum engineers there? Did we have economists there? Did we have financial expertise there? Do we have competent lawyers? Do we actually put forward
the issues you're raising is different, because you're raising issues that maybe the contract in the beginning was faulty.
It was a good contract.
Everything we've read was showing that this was a good contract that would have solved multiple problems for Nigeria.
I have said that.
Would have. So if it was already a good contract, the challenge of this is a challenge every Nigerian knows, which is we don't have continuity in government. They will hand over, we hand over government to another person, but each new government wants to do their own project. So we had it happen, even within this administration, where the former president, Jonathan, had been doing many fantastic projects, even in agriculture and all of that. And for the first 1 year, nothing was done. Only for this same government to go back to start implementing the things on ground before. How can Nigerians now begin to
hold our leaders or begin to shout out concerning our leaders concerning when they stop projects that are fantastic. It happens everywhere. Ilubiri was stopped for 4 years. What did that happen? The issue of Visionscape was signed a contract, you cancelled the contract, you brought, as in, what is going on? Is it that we don't know the implications of these things on our finances as a country?
Your point is very clear, and I was actually coming to that as well. Now, but the point that I was trying to raise is this. Now, when you have signed a contract, putting forward your first level is very important, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Now, there are clauses in the contract. Now, those clauses is what is haunting us now. And that is my point, that were this properly checked at that point in time? Imagine, it will interest you to know that P&ID actually did not invest anything in construction at all. And they're getting this penalty against Nigeria. No, I'm coming to that. In construction, I said they didn't invest anything in construction. No land acquisition was done, no construction was done, yet they are getting this. So whatever they might have spent, definitely should have been instead of feasibility studies and all those things, analysis, which is okay. We could compensate them for that. But to the tune of 9.6 billion naira, it's not a joke. Now, let's leave that and coming back to your question. Okay. Go ahead. Coming back to your question with sort of the economic implication. We'll come to the economy.
Let me pause you for a second.
I wanted to say that this was a contract done on one side. So P&ID got their lawyers to do a good job for them. They know the history of Nigeria, and they know when there's a change of government, there won't be continuity. They got their backing. They got the clauses to protect them. Like you were asking, who were the lawyers who stood for Nigeria so that they would know that Nigeria does not have continuity, and put together clauses that will create a frustration when there's a change in government. Because our lawyers, obviously, either that the president at the time, which was Yaradua, was sincere in the project of creating a gas, whatever, with P&ID, or that our own lawyers decided to just, let's just do it. Sign everything.
To what you said, sir. To what one name just said. The owners of the company, the Irish company, because they found when they researched the company actually had no history, no background. It's like one of those briefcase put together companies. But the owners have done business in Nigeria for over 30 years. So they know our government. They know our weak points. So these are things that our lawyers should have been able to use to defend us.
When I said that, did we put forward our best 11, our first 11? That's exactly what I meant, Now, how were we represented is the question.
That's very questionable.
How come there are clauses in the contract which were not highlighted at the point? It's very important. That's exactly where I was coming from. So it's I can't imagine a country like Nigeria where we have a lot of competent lawyers, and then we are falling into this kind of trap. It doesn't, it sounds ridiculous.
So there's some names that I hear that are being thrown around. I'm hearing Diziani may be called to sit down and, go through the, how they came about this contract. But I also want to say that most Nigerians will be sitting down here and be thinking, how does this concern me? 9 billion, and they're talking, and government is dropping 9 billion. After all, this is what they do anyway. It's none of my business. Why should a Nigerian sitting at home be worried now listening to this?
To be honest with you, there are many reasons why Nigerians should be worried. Now, and I will go to the CBN governor. He has done a very good job in trying to manage the situation in the sense that he said he's not worried. And that's, for me, that's a good way of managing it. Otherwise, you create panic in the society. But I will explain to you. We're talking about 9 billion United States dollars that is being
a quarter of our budget.
That is being awarded against Nigeria. Now, I will explain from two angles. Number one, the budget, and secondly, the foreign reserve.
Can I pause you for a second? Because this is we have to go into something very critical. I don't want to pause you while you're talking about. So let's go on a break. When we come back, you start from afresh. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, we established that the deed has been done, the amount has been awarded. Now we're now asking, how does this affect the average man? You're telling us the two parts.
Okay, like I was trying to say that there are two aspects of data that I would like to look at, and we do some basic analytics about it. Firstly, the budget side, and also the foreign reserve side. Talking about the budget, if you look at the total budget size of the country for 2019 is 8.9 trillion, 8.92 trillion to be precise. Now, when you now factor in this amount that we are meant or we are being awarded to pay to P&ID of how much are we talking about? We are talking about 9 billion. Now, when you look, to start with, in fact, when you convert the budget of I'm talking about the total budget, 8.9 trillion naira. Now, when you convert the amount that we are supposed to pay P&ID to naira, that is 3.2 trillion.
That's all.
You can imagine how much we're talking about. We're talking about 36% of the budget size for 2019. Now, when you now take a little bit a step further, now we're actually operating on a deficit budget of 1.9 trillion, meaning the revenue for the year is 7 trillion. Now, 7 trillion, when you factor in this amount we are meant to pay, so we are talking about 45% of our revenue is what we are meant to pay to P&ID, only one organization. Doing nothing. Now, when you now break down further your revenue for the year, which is 7 trillion naira into two. One, the oil revenue and non-oil revenue. The oil revenue is 3.6 trillion, while the oil revenue, non-oil revenue is 3.3 trillion, making a total of 7 trillion naira. So, compare 3.2 trillion we are meant to pay to P&ID to your oil revenue of 3.6 trillion.
We can't carry it, obviously. Yeah.
We cannot. And of course, we are not expected to pay it out of the budget anyway, but I'm just trying to let you know how much we are talking about. Now, talking about the foreign reserve side.
Let me pause for a second. I have a call. Morning, are you there?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Please let me make this point. I just want to appeal to the government that they should seek a political situation, a political solution.
Okay.
All about the fraud we have been talking about. I'm not going to dwell on the side of UK. I think problems with bread and all that. Bro, they will come to Nigeria to make us. We already know. But the possibilities of aligning ourselves with our enemies is what we should look at here. This is whatever. The technical analysis, fine. The lawyer side, fine. But we should understand and government or advise them to seek a political solution to this problem.
Okay.
Because if it goes beyond this, it is going to damage the economy, and that is what somebody behind is weak.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Joshua. Political solution. Okay, so you're going to our foreign reserves.
Yeah. Now, at the end of 2018, I think we were standing at about 47 billion US dollar foreign reserve. At the end of July this year, the foreign reserve of the country was $44.9 billion. Now, we are talking about $9 billion penalty if this was supposed to be enforced eventually. So when you take that out of our foreign reserve, we go down to $35 billion. This is massive. We're talking about 20% of the foreign reserve. And why it's massive and it's important is that now the foreign reserve is what is being used to manage the strength of the naira. In essence, the value of the naira against in the forex markets. Now, when you have this happening to your foreign reserve, definitely the value of the naira will drop. It's expected to drop. And when that happens also, it also means that the cost of doing business at the forex market becomes high. And you can begin to think about what could happen locally when the cost of doing business abroad becomes that high. No, it will affect a lot of institutions, a lot of companies and what have you. And of course, it can begin to affect our daily lives as individuals and as workers in different organizations.
Let me take this call. Morning, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Abdulaziz, you're live. Go ahead, please.
So, yeah, good morning.
Morning.
But I can see that. Good morning.
We can hear you. Please, don't listen to me, not TV.
Please, I want to speak on two issues.
I have to cut that phone. I'm sorry. I need you to listen to me and not the television. Yes, Nima.
So I wanted us to talk about, the way forward. The Attorney General was talking recently, saying that all the people found around the time of this contract, certain people will be held to account. Is that the way forward, or we sit down now, as the Attorney General now being a lawyer, sit down and look at this contract and see whether there are ways to renegotiate. Maybe we'll get a stay of execution and renegotiate and do something else about this, or we should start to pick on people that we want to punish.
You know, in my opinion, I think the two are important. The two are important in the sense that, first and foremost, I can tell you that I don't think anybody in the presidency is sleeping over this. They are looking for a way to possibly renegotiate and see what we can do to redress the damages that have been done already. That's number one. Now, talking about looking back and say, I heard the man saying that indeed certain people, they will not go unpunished and things like that. It's also good when people have done things wrongly. Sometimes, you know, to actually redress it from that angle, so that tomorrow other people will be careful when they want to do the same thing. You know, we are talking about national interests. We are talking about something that affects the lives of everyday Nigerian. It's actually important.
So somebody on Twitter was saying that she's worried about the precedents this will set, because if a company can get judgment against Nigeria for something like this and sort of like go away and make that money, it means that many other cases would come up, because they will be able to prove that we've defaulted on some agreements we've had. Also, we need this foreign investment to come into Nigeria, and it would not make Nigeria look good to know that we've backed out on some major deals to the favor of those other people coming inside the country. So what do you think we can do from the economical standpoint to redeem our image that we are we're a country you can do business with, we will not default on our agreements? How can we remedy this situation from that angle?
My sister, unfortunately, I will tell you that this seems to have been, in one way or the other, what Nigeria is being known for. I'm sorry, and the reason I just said that is because recently there's another case which has just been won against Nigeria also, which is not as popular as this. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I'm aware of this. There's a company called Euron or something, which was, they entered into contracts with Lagos state government. I think it has to do with power generation or something like that as well. The federal government stood in as the backup for Lagos state. So eventually, Lagos state apparently defaulted and they went to court. They won the case. It's 6.6 billion naira, not dollar. 6.6 billion naira or something like that. You know, things like this. So for me, it comes down to the willingness, I'm not sure, but it's an example, you know, it's another example.
Unfortunately, we have to. Let me take this last call. Dele, are you still there?
Oh, yes.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
My take is, why is it that the federal government of Nigeria can always check on their contractual obligations?
I don't know why.
And expect that other people will not suffer? What is wrong with the people in leadership? We check on the contractual obligation, we should be made to pay for it. Look at what happened when the metro line was cancelled in 1984 by the current, the people that came in that time, the military there. And there are a series of agreements like that Nigeria has checked on their responsibilities. What is the problem with us as a people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think it would be important right now, what we should be looking at, instead of looking at people, maybe sit down and have a register of all this sort of contracts that, you know, sort of passing us by. We wonder how many of these situations have happened over the years. Maybe if we sit down and find out how much in the whole weekly...
has reacted.
Yes.
I said that going forward,
we know reaction.
at 99th hour, that all contracts must go through his office. Unfortunately, we have to pause on this topic at this point. But we can't end this conversation because we're still waiting for the federal government to let us know what is going to be done. So we'll definitely bring in more people to show us what the government is doing and see, hopefully we can find some kind of way to get out of this quagmire we find ourselves. Let's go on the break. When we come back, thank you very much, sir, for sharing your knowledge on this. When we come back, still talking about leadership, do we have the right pegs in the right holes, especially as we relate to this issue of $9.6 billion ruling? We're going to discuss the ministerial appointment. Do we have the right people at the helms of affairs? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So last week, the new ministers were appointed into their different ministries. On the show today, we want to look into their various profiles and portfolios and banter about it. Joining us is the publisher, Scroll Report Online, Janet Mba Afolabi. Welcome to the show. Good to have you. You can join the conversation on 07080668014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. So last week we got the minister, was it last week or even 2 weeks ago? Last week, yeah. The ministers were assigned their portfolios and there were lots of ups and downs, women, not with, I think about 6 or 7 women, seven women. And the fact that some got their jobs back, others
got their jobs split actually. Now, there are lots of disappointments. Some people felt that someone like the former governor of Osun State should have got some works because they feel that he did a lot of work in Lagos State. And he would have done more work, but I mean, I don't know. People have different, but I was most disappointed with the Minister for Education returning. I felt that we have other people in this country who have created some serious milestones and deserved to be ministers. In your own view, what are your own disappointments? Were you happy about the appointments, or were there any ones you felt that we could discuss and have an issue, you had an issue with?
I was not disappointed.
Okay.
And I was not surprised because that is the
You didn't expect much.
Yes, that's the president's choice. He had prepared our minds to say that he's going to choose people that he knows because this is his last leg. He won't have another chance, opportunity to lead the country. So he wanted the kind of people that will help him take his agenda to the next level. So you mentioned the education minister, Adamu Adamu. Adamu Adamu is a columnist. He's basically a journalist. So heading the Ministry of Education may be like asking a fish that normally would do well inside water, swimming well inside water, to come and climb a tree. Because the tree is the home of the monkey. It's the natural habitat of a monkey. So a monkey jumps. It does not even crawl. It jumps on trees. So perhaps an educationist would have been more appropriate for that ministry. More so, please, let me please conclude. More so that he promised that he was going to reduce the out-of-school children problem by half, and he could not fulfill that promise.
You know, a lot of people have argued that you do not need to be a professional in that particular field
to manage
a ministry. You just need to have maybe enough education, enough exposure to do well. But I think in the case of the Minister for Education, this is based on last 4 years. I mean, the previous 4 years. It did not seem like he has done much. Are we judging him too quickly? Could we just give him the next 4 years and see if something will come out of it? Yes.
Answering your question, it is not every ministry that you do not need an expert. There are some ministries that you need the expert to excel. And there are those that people who get to manage it. For instance, Fashola is a lawyer. You are giving him Ministry of Works and Housing. Is he an engineer?
No, but you see,
I'm just answering Miriam's question. But he can perform. He had been a governor before. But like education ministry, you need an education.
Just like in petroleum. Just like in petroleum, for instance, which is what bothers me.
Just like
why
in
is the
health.
president...
I don't agree with that.
Wait up, we're hanging there. Let's
just like in health.
Just like in petroleum, why is the president retaining his ministerial position of Minister of Petroleum? Just because we didn't see it as effective as we would like. And then you replace an expert like Kachiku with his pedigree in the industry with a Timipre Silva, who's just a politician. How could you explain as Minister for State?
Who also has a case in the EFCC, remember?
And maybe the only qualification for Temi Silva is because it's from Niger Delta.
That's all.
So for me,
I
feel that the notion that you need to be an expert in the field to be effective as a leader in that area is not entirely true. In some cases it might work, but it's not entirely true. I think that for you to be a minister is for you to be able to effectively manage resources with the interest of the people at heart. I don't need to be a doctor to understand that having drugs in every hospital would reduce mortality.
I don't need to be a doctor to understand that putting money into infrastructure in education is not as important as putting money into human resource development. I don't need to be an education to understand those things. So I feel that, no, and everybody feels, some people can say that, oh, be an expert, and I'll say, we've had experts. The Minister of Health is in that same industry. They felt that because he's a doctor, he's partial to medical, to doctors in the medical profession. So the nurses and other non-medical people within that industry feel like he's not representing them. So you don't necessarily have to be that professional, but have the interest of people and serve the humanity.
But I think what she had said is that there's some ministry that you need expertise and there's some you don't. But I think in an area of education and health, you see, where we are right now, we all agree on this table that education and health are one of those ministries for whatever reason they haven't gotten as much funding and attention from the federal government in many years. So if we're going to actually set an agenda for our education achievement, what we want to achieve, don't you think we need somebody?
I just quoted the health.
Yes.
In our last administration, we had a doctor as the Minister for Health. And I can say, Dr. Isaac Oduwole, I did not see effectively what he's done. There were many crises under his administration. So, however, back to the square pegs and round whatever it is, I also feel that we have a major challenge in our hands because we don't know the parameter our president used to measure the effectiveness of his last administration. Because what we used to measure it was that there was a lot of failure, and those same people are back into power. Take, for instance, Ngige. So if an Ngige had so many strike issues consistently, with many people saying that he is sabotaging negotiations on many occasions, and that same man is brought back into the same portfolio, how did our president measure his achievements in the past 4 years that has warranted him to bring Ngige back for another tenure? Shouldn't we be aware of those parameters he used to measure who they are or how effective they've been?
Okay, Tokpe, let me respond to the one on the health. You don't have to be a doctor to be the Minister of Health, but you could be a medical practitioner. Doctor is not the only profession in the medical.
There's pharmacy.
Yes, there are several other practitioners. So I'm not specifying that it must be a doctor. I'm saying that it must be somebody who is knowledgeable about the health sector, so that when someone comes to you and is telling you, yes, when somebody comes to you and is talking about RTF, about malnourished children, that 2.5 children are dying every year, according to UNICEF, you will understand what he's talking about, so that they will not come and tell you this cup is white when actually they mean black. You will be blank about it. That's why I'm talking about expertise in those.
Then
on Ngige. Ngige, the workers have declared him enemy of workers.
And he's back there.
They even asked the president not to reappoint him.
And he's back
they are disappointed that the president reappointed him because he didn't have good relationship with workers. And that was why we had so many strike actions. So Ngige coming back, perhaps the president wants to give him a second chance to make amendments on what he did, or maybe it's a second chance for him to redeem his name and his image with relationship with workers.
To talk about the women, but before I quickly talk about women, I remember we had a meeting one time, and the person who had the meeting was saying, a minister, and he was saying to us that there's some things that are on ground now that you do not see how they'll end up or the fruition of them until enough time has elapsed. He talked about solid minerals, I think at the time, yes. So sometimes work needs to be put on the ground, and it takes a while for us to see it. So for some of these people that...
Like transportation ministry or what?
No. Maybe they've done some negotiations concerning labor and wages and things like that.
That's not the example.
But let's talk about the women. Let's talk about the women. Well, I'll take this call. Morning, are you there? Mariam is such an optimist.
Say, please,
Ozai, are you there?
Hello, good morning.
Morning, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Okay, as concerning this issue of Buhari's new set of ministers,
President Muhammadu Buhari.
To me, I feel the best thing is having professionals in these various ministries. This will help to speedy work, like make things very effective. Bringing somebody who is not into the health sector to head the Ministry of Health will not give us anything productive at all. Overhearing you talking about the Minister of Education, Adamu, Like for the 4 years he was in power, I've gone through his records and I can't find anything meaningful or reasonable he has done. The whole education issue is getting worse by the day, and he's not doing anything. So for me, I feel the right thing should be done, which is
Thank you very much,
getting very good
Josiah.
hand.
Thank you for your views. Yes, Miriam was going to finish up.
I was just talking about the women. We have 7 women, and there's one that I find, I've been talking about her since she got her ministerial appointment. That's the Ministry for Women Affairs. You know, for a long time, a lot of us don't understand what that ministry is about, what they are meant to do. We had someone who came and sort of shed a little light on it. But what should we expect from the Minister of the Ministry of Women Affairs?
Okay, let me start from the minister. She had been around for a long time in the issues of women, championing the cause of women, advocating for changes in issues concerning women. So for that ministry, she's a round peg in a round hole.
Because she's a woman?
No, because she had been an advocate of the cause of women and championing it and been involved for a long time in women issues. So before they see her more like a woman leader, wherever you talk about women conferences, you always find her there. So she is a round peg. But that ministry, what do they do? Is a big question. What do they really do? I also wonder.
So I wanted to ask about the new Minister for Budget and Planning as well as Finance.
Okay.
How...
Like 3 ministries, right?
3 ministries for this one woman. And what we know about her so far is that she's been in the civil service for a long time. Aside that, what do you think makes her stand out? Because this is a very important... There are 3 pivotal ministries for me: health, education, and this finance. To get us out of this economic whatever we found ourselves these days, we need someone who we think will be on ground. We know that she's a welfare person. Aside that, what exactly do you think qualifies her for this?
Perhaps because she's a Kaduna politician. I don't know. But
I've watched her interview. I've watched her.
I think she's good.
She's very eloquent and she's very...
I'm asking.
Please don't do that to a woman. No, I won't let you do that to a woman.
I'm answering her question.
No, I'm partial.
I think she's good. She's good at what she's doing. You know, she had been there as the Minister of State, and when Kemi Adeosun left.
But this workload.
But I'm sure she'll be able to handle, because they are related.
Don't let Tope intimidate you.
Tope cannot intimidate. No. Tope has an opinion.
She's a professional.
Yes, thank you. To agree, you know, we can disagree to later agree. So I make my point, she makes her point.
Thank you, ma.
She is capable because she's a woman, and she's now the substantive Minister for Finance. I am happy and I'm proud that a woman is there. Women had always been there. So we hope that this opportunity that has been given to her, which could be an opportunity for her to fail or succeed, which could be an opportunity for her to prove herself in answering her just question. Yes, so it's a great opportunity.
Break. And when we come back, we'll talk about those that we're happy with. Stay with us, we'll be right back, if any.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to take a few tweets forward, but first, the issue of, I know during the break you talked about the fact that women are not happy that out of 43 ministers, just 7. I mean, especially when the president had actually mentioned at some point that he would consider, he didn't promise, he said he would consider it. As a women's rights activist also, what are your thoughts on the fact that only 7 women made the list?
7 women made the list, which is very low. That's about 16.7%, half of the 35% affirmative action that the president promised during the campaign. So many women are not happy. They are saying that the president should have kept his promise, because a promise is a debt, a promise is a vow, a promise is an agreement.
I don't remember him promising it. He just said he would consider it.
During campaign, that was what he said. During campaign, that was what he said, that he's going to give. Yes, you know, campaign promises come very easily. It's a means to an end.
Let's take a few more tweets.
So Bilikis Mafe says, Zainab Ahmed is good and capable of handling her portfolio. I watched her this morning on another show and she delivered. We must avoid comparison before she even begins. I think we should allow her comments before we conclude on her performance, but what I saw was not disappointing. PJ Comedian said, this is really bad. This happened because they won't use the best lawyers we have for political reasons. How will this now attract other foreign investors in the future? We need serious redemption of image in this country. Wahala deo.
Bright Life Samuel says, by right, no minister in the last 4 years is supposed to return. None of them performed, but the president said it is not performance, but about compensation. What a pity. Who bewitched us? I don't know where that came from. Peter
Omobola says, what is important is delivery, not about who heads where. Why we share our sentiments of not seeing anything by past ministers is because of the years of decay.
The compensation part was because, I mean, Godswill Akpabio, for them, lost out in the elections, and it was important, politically important for him to be compensated. Now, as much as we understand their political issues, but for us, the people, was it right for somebody who actually has a case in court? Who has a, yes, he's not been convicted, but at least there's a pending case against him. Was it right for him to be a part of the ministers?
I think because he still has a question mark on him in terms of corrupt practices, he shouldn't have been appointed.
So,
and it may be politically necessary, but not politically compulsory for them to have appointed him. Although he's from Niger Delta, he had been a governor from the South, he may understand more about the Niger Delta. But there are also many other people who could head that place so that this government that is fighting corruption will be seen as not using people who have cases, who are an embarrassment.
Let me premise my question on this tweet I need to take. Momogolan says, Nigeria's presidential system is modeled after the US. When you look at the US system, you don't have to have an expert in any particular ministry to head it. What ministers usually do is provide leadership role. Most permanent secretaries are usually the expert. Now, my question is, this presidential system that we are doing in this country, is it helping us or is killing us? What exactly
Before you answer
is
that
it
question,
working for us?
Adam, why are you still there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Please, I want to make my contribution is about the ministry, the ministers you talked about earlier. One thing I want us to understand is this. In every ministry, you don't necessarily need a professional or an expert. You need people that are committed, that are ready to serve the country. Now, about the Minister of Education, I want us to pay attention to this. One minister cannot solve the entire educational problem in this country. Go to our universities, go to our polytechnics, look at what the rectors are doing, look at what the VCs are doing. Look at our professors in the university who cannot even, they cannot even contribute anything meaningful to the university. All they talk about is ASU money, go on strike, you need increment, salary increments and all that. Go to primary school, go to secondary school. Look at the pattern at which they recruit and staff and all that. Because you are from my family or because you are from my neighborhood, I just give somebody who is not qualified. No, you don't expect a minister to solve all that problem. The problem needs to be solved locally, from the universities to polytechnics and secondary school and primary school and all that.
Fantastic.
Then also, I'm very sorry about the promise the president made during campaign about including ladies in his cabinet. Ministries are not the only place where ladies can serve. You have ambassadors, you have PA, you have so many positions. So let's not just focus on just ministry. There are so many other places.
Special advisor. He meant special advisor.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
He made a list of a lot of things and then added PAs at the end. So.
Okay, all right, we have to round up very soon.
Please, I want to quickly, because when we talk about all these ministers, and really we do have legit grievances against the way the list has gone, but I think that we should also use this platform to ask our president to give us his expectation list to each of these ministries. Because if we know what we are expecting him to do, if he's expecting something from them, if he's expecting a list from them, this is what you're supposed to do in each of these ministries, then we can then hold him and hold them accountable that you guys have not done what...
KPIs.
Yes, because I watched the inauguration. Has he not given them his expectations?
Which is that they should go and talk to Abakari?
No, he has given them Nigerians
his expectations.
Well, he generalized that. It wasn't a specific...
No, I'm just saying KPI for each person. How do we know that you are performing?
Yes.
So that we can know you have failed when you fail.
I think
we can't write an exam without having a goal. We can't play a ball without a goal post. What's the goal for each
ministry, what do you want to achieve? I want a 50% reduction in importation of oil. I want this one, so we know specifically.
We have to round up. You see, we can discuss this until tomorrow.
That's why I feel like this is like a finishing solution, like a...
I know you're working on a project. Let us...
Yes, ma. What's this?
Yes, organizing a conference is still part of what we are talking about, fighting corruption and insecurity, the way forward. And as media people, we are supposed to be part of the progress of this country. We're supposed to ensure sustainability of democracy and national development. So it's coming up on Thursday, 10 a.m. in Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos. And the free of charge admission is free, but strictly by invitation. You are not paying any fee to enter the venue, but you have to be invited because we don't want the place to be rowdy. We want quality people. And
what kind of guests are we expecting to be there?
People, experts from all walks of life are part of the discussion to talk about security, talk about corruption, and the way forward. We actually want to seek solution for the national problems.
So that's good. So we'll try to definitely be there. We'll try to get ladies.
Yes.
Are we inviting us? Are we inviting
automatic?
Automatic. I would have looked at you like...
is automatic.
Okay, all right. So by God's grace, we'll be there also. But thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
We'll continue. We can't exhaust again this ministerial list because everybody has different opinions. So we'll go online. I was still going to make it a topic at some point where we create our own KPIs for them.
Exactly.
Let's do
performance charts. We create our own performance chart for
each
them.
ministry,
This is what we
do the people want?
Yes.
In fact, that's part of your agenda, your events.
Yes.
Let us create an agenda for each of the ministries, and that's how we're going to.
It's only the Minister for Defense, I think, will be clearly done immediately.
We have to wrap up. That's all we can take. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.